Howard Hughes was kind of like the wizard in Wizard of Oz. He was kind of untouchable, and I had this dreamy idea about his helicopter company, his airplane company. When I was a little kid, I didn't know he made movies. I just knew he was like this god who had this runway out by the Lopez Ranch, which is now Home Depot and all these other things out there. He had this major runway, and it was kind of like a secret behind those walls, so we all kind of like curious about it. But his name is right on the outskirts of our town, and his name is very prominent. Our Howard Hughes, he bought property all over the place, but where there is a mall and a theater and some restaurants right up on Sepulveda, Curlin Job's there, I think, that was one of Howard's pieces of property. But my dad tells a story. I remember when we were doing The Aviator, my dad said that when he was a young man working at George Denton's gas station right here, the 76 station on the corner of Overland and Culver, that Howard would come in, and this is where my dad said the story is true. He got rid of all of his clothes. He went down to J.C. Penney's and bought some khakis and tennis shoes, and about the time when he started kind of changing from Howard, the producer, movie star, I think he was after his crash, and he would come into the gas station in his jalopy with his tennis shoes and his khakis on, and my dad would run over and start filling his gas tank, and Howard would walk over and he'd light a cigarette and my dad said, "You can't smoke a cigarette here, Mr. Hughes, I'm sorry," because everybody knew who he was. I wasn't even born yet. And Marty Scorsese continued to say, and everybody said he never smoked. I will tell you, if my dad said he was sitting there smoking a cigarette, he was smoking a cigarette. He was just a closet smoker. But Dad swears that actually happened many times, not just once, but many times. He would just come in and get out of this old jalopy. And our gas tanks are probably more secure today and protected today and safe today. And back in those days, to smoke a cigarette next to an island where a gas tank it's behind glass right there and it's blah, 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 bubbling down was probably even more dangerous, and people did it all the time. People would gas up their cars with their engine running. Who knew? You have to do your homework when it comes to Martin Scorsese. I'll never forget one time we were out at the tarmac in San Bernardino, and Leo was getting ready to do a takeoff in the XF-11, which was Howard's big plane that eventually the military kind of took his design and made the U-2 flyover plane for Cuba during the Cuban Missile Crisis, and kind of stole his design. And he said, I'm getting Leo ready, and there's a famous picture in all of Howard's books, in all of history, and all the documentaries, where he's in this XF-11 and he's taxiing down the runway, and he's got his fedora on, and, doing a publicity shot. So I'm getting Leo ready, and I'm getting a throat mic to put on him, because in the flight, Howard wore a flight helmet and he wore a throat mic. And Marty's comes up to me and he's like, this isn't what he wore. He wore the fedora. And I said, no. I said, that was for a publicity shot. He wore the fedora, he wore the throat mic so he could talk to the control tower and talk to other people, to get his bearings and his flight instructions. Dennis was on another part of we were out in San Bernardino. It was when those big fires broke out up in Big Bear. And Dennis was on another part of the base, and we called Dad over, and Dad said, no, this is what he wore. So Marty gets Joe Reedy, his first AD, call the Smithsonian right now. So we stood around for probably a half an hour waiting for the Smith to come back to us. Come back, he wore a throat mic.